Well, this is awkward. I've hit the live button before I was ready to go live. But that's life, isn't it? Not much we can do about that. Now, the question I want to ask today is, what kind of a world do we want to create? What kind of a world do we want to be in? One of the things that I have observed a tendency towards, a trend towards, and I think let's say it's a dangerous trend. I'm not moralizing, I'm not wagging my finger at anybody in particular, but I worry about certain things. And this is one trend that I worry about. We seem to be getting, year on year, month on month, and day by day, more and more comfortable with the idea of the abrogation of our personal responsibility. To say it in the inverse, what if the opposite were true, we are less and less comfortable with the idea of taking responsibility. There must be somebody to blame. There must be somebody else who can carry the can. There must be someone other than me who's going to fix it for me. And in and of itself, it's not disastrous. But if enough people within a culture, especially some of the most, how rude, powerful and wealthy cultures in the world are engaging in this trend towards that, what are we going to do? Like, what kind of a world are we going to create? I'm going to present a hypothesis to you, and then I'm going to take questions. It seems to me that we fall broadly into two camps. And this is with all due respect to Gad Saad and his warning about the temptations of epistemological dichotomania, which is the tendency for all of us to drop things into two camps. And I've even wondered if the reason why we do this, because we have two hands and two eyes and two nostrils. So we have two. You can either be on the left or the right, and there's nothing else. Something like that might be true. Maybe it's yin and yang. Maybe the yin, we could say, is the more feminine expression. We all have yin and yang inside of us. In Chinese philosophy and in Chinese medicinal systems, you have yin and yang in your organs, you have yin and yang in your body, you have yin and yang in various parts of you. It must flow, it must be dynamic. The yang purifies the yin purifies the yang. Too much of any one energy in any area creates sickness and potentially death. Yin is feminine. It tends towards preoccupation with fairness, collective solutions, the group, holding the group together. It wants to hold, it wants to nurture, it wants to make safe, justice, safety. Wonderful. We need this. Humans need fairness. We need distribution. When we hunt and we return from the hunt, or we go and pluck berries, or whatever it was we were evolved to do in the horrendous history of our evolution, the lack of fair distribution of the hunt, or the lack of fair distribution of resources, would potentially lead to conflict and death. Being attacked by an external enemy is a tragedy. You killing your own people is a bloody catastrophe. So that's very important. In the yang, which is more masculine, the tendency is towards that which is individualistic. The concerns are with boundaries, with power, with hierarchies, and with strength. Wonderful. Both wonderful, necessary. We need to go out. Yin moves inward. It retracts and moves inward, as in concerned with the past. Yang is what is. It is present and it moves forward. It is that which is written. It is that which will be. It is laws. It is rules. Wonderful. Yin is chaos. It's artistry. It's artwork. It's expression. It's pure potentiality. When we say chaos in this context, it's got a negative connotation. In modern usage, this little portion of cushion that is in shot is irritating me and creating chaos. Get out of shot. There we go. My OCD is kicked in. It doesn't mean anything negative. In the older When these texts were being translated, the older meaning of chaos just meant potentiality, the realm of pure potentiality. Yang is what is. Yin is what is not yet, but could be. The feminine is maybe. The feminine is what could be. It's idealism. It's utopianism. It's optimism. Yang is what is. It is tough. It is cynical. It is pessimistic. It waits for the enemy. It waits for the disease. It waits for the disaster, and it prepares. Yin looks at what is beautiful and what is wonderful and makes things that are not that great better. Both excellent, both necessary, both good. They move, they're dynamic. When we think of the yin-yang symbol, if any of you are into martial arts, Bruce Lee created his own style. It's called Jeet Kune Do. It means hand intercepting fist. And his symbol was the yin-yang, but he drew arrows around the yin and the yang because we should conceptualize the yin-yang as a GIF. It moves. It's constantly moving. When we see the yin-yang symbol, we're like, well, it's still. There's the black bit, there's the white bit, and it doesn't move. You're supposed to think of it as moving. If it stops, you're dead. If it stops, the political system that has yin and yang in it, when it stops, it's dead. The economy that has yin yang in it, when it stops, it's dead. Life is movement in Taoism. This is Taoist philosophy in its essence. What are we doing right now? What are we doing? With this abrogation of personal responsibility and the obsession with justice and safety, is it possible to overdo it? Yes, of course it is. But it's possible to overdo yang. If everything is hyper-competitive and brutal, we have a world full of steroided up barbarians competing for dominance. If the world is excessively yin, what does it look like? In the excessively yang world, we have the danger daddy. We have the psychopath, the grandiose narcissist, the totalitarian dictator. In the toxically yin world, we have the smother mother archetype run amok. We have condescension. We have the bullying school mom who wants to patronize everybody and treat everybody as though they're children. And you might think, well, what's wrong with that? And this is the problem, you see, with yin. When yin comes with evil intent, you won't hear it. You won't see it. There'll be no bagpipes. There'll be no war flutes. Swords will not clang against shields. It will come gently with promises and whispers of safety and friendliness and diplomacy. That which was vertical and hierarchical will be made horizontal, and we will have fairness, and there will be bread for everybody. But what happens when we become obsessed with safety? If you treat everybody, it's a human software fault. It's a human software fault. Nobody's really to blame as such. This isn't a blame thing. It's an observational thing. If you treat people like they are infants, because of the way we all are designed, all humans are designed. Hang on. Gave myself away there. I don't believe in it. The way we have evolved, excuse me. The way we have completely spontaneously evolved. with no intelligence. It's just random coincidence. We just win the lottery every microsecond of every day and don't dissipate into pure chaos again. We just win the lottery every second we breathe in and breathe out. The most unlikely 1,000,000,000 to 1 odds lottery every day. Let's not derail and go where we don't need to. The way we've evolved in communication is we act the way we're treated. So if we're treated as responsible, intelligent adults, our deepest unconscious tendency will be to act like responsible and intelligent adults. If we are treated like fragile, stupid children, our deepest unconscious tendency will be to act like fragile and stupid children. This is the danger of yin. This is the danger of leaning too far into a toxically yin culture, or allowing yin to become toxic and to become too dominant in a culture. We've seen what yang does. We've seen war. We've seen massacres, great violence unleashed upon the world multiple times, industrialized violence, military violence, violence rendered so easy. You know, people War now is like it was represented in the Avengers with Thanos. With the click of your fingers and the press of a computer button, you can kill hundreds of thousands, well, potentially the knock-on effects can kill millions of people thousands of kilometers away without breaking a sweat. No broadsword training required, no battle axe carried over hard terrain for 3 weeks, no marching for months down to the Crusades in the Middle East, none of that. You just press a button. Some fat dude who understands programming presses a button, and then a bright light shines in the sky, people scream for a few seconds, and then it's done, it's finished. We've seen all that, and we know all that. What we're not familiar with is what we're entering into now. When I wrote this title, somebody in the chat said, because I wrote, I'm going to be optimistic in this video, somebody wrote, oh no, he's going to blue pill them. And I thought, how ironic, because this is what I wanted to talk about. We are entering the matrix. The matrix, the word matrix is mentioned in the Bible several times, in some translations of the Bible. It means womb. It means womb. The film The Matrix is not about Neo, is not about Morpheus or Cypher or Judas Iscariot or Jesus. Not really. The real Matrix, the thing that you cannot escape, you can never escape in the movie The Matrix, is the womb itself. It all takes place inside of one big pod that is full of amniotic fluid that renders you a baby, a human adult baby. You remember when Neo takes the red pill and he wakes up in a pod full of pink goo with wires that have broken his physical boundaries, a plug up his bum, and a thing sticking out the back of his head, and he's completely bald, and he's got no eyebrows, and he is a fully grown male, but effectively, because he's bald and naked, he's like a baby. That film would have a different emotional impact if it was called The Womb, and we would remember the pod. We are entering into the period of the Matrix. We are re-entering the womb, and not in a good way. In our near future, we will now see, this is the pessimistic part of the video, sorry, allow me to be yang for a moment and cynical. What we will see in our near future is people queuing up to be able to enter pods. There was a not very well known, or I don't think it was particularly well received, series on Netflix called Maniac. It featured Jonah Hill, and I think he wrote it. I quite liked it. But one of the characters in that film that's set in the not too distant future, because of his depression, we never see his face. He's already opted out and lives inside of a pod. It doesn't look like a Matrix pod. It looks more like a tent or an oxygen tank, but it's the same thing. You're going to see people queuing up to opt out of this life. You're going to see people queuing up to leave physical reality. That's why Facebook has become Meta, which is a bizarre, terrifying name, you know, just straight out of a Black Mirror episode. Meta means above and beyond everything. What is above and beyond everything? What is the firmament? That is the top of the coffin lid that is the pod that we are moving into. Now we have a choice. We can choose to go left, sinistre, or to go right at this point. Remember, yin and yang are both necessary or we die. We, all of us, must flow through yin and yang states with nobility and grace, or else we as individuals will get sick and individually die, and our culture must do this as well, or it will get sick and it will die as a collective. A giant catastrophe. We can choose between safety. We can choose between pleasure and the abrogation of responsibility and handing over all of our sovereignty and agency to higher authorities, or we can choose danger. We can choose individualism, we can choose risk, and we can choose strength. But we can't do both at this moment. There will be a time in the future where things will calm down and it will balance out. That's my optimism in this video. That is where I am yin. I'm idealistic and utopian. I choose to believe that this will be okay. I choose to believe that it will be turbulent, it will be bumpy, but human existence has always been turbulent and bumpy. It's always been hard. We've always been on the edge of disaster. Who's the famous YouTuber who has a history channel who wrote a book called The End Is Always Near? Is he called Mark something? I read his book. It came out 6 months before the current scenario that we're living with now occurred, spontaneously began. And he actually said that one of the ways in which culture can end very, very quickly is through this. I can't say it because we're at a point now where if I talk about it at all, I risk losing the channel. YouTube has been very clear with me about that. I am not to discuss this situation or use any of the keywords from this situation whatsoever, or I risk the channel being permanently deleted. I have this in writing. It's not paranoia. If you want to see the email, I'll gladly show it to you. So, what do we want to do? What kind of a world do we want to live in? What kind of a future do we want to create for our children? It is good to seek justice. It is good to seek the fair distribution of resources. My God, we've always done it and we should do it because it's the right thing to do. It is good to protect. It is good to make safe. It is good to make beautiful. It is good to have ideals and idealism, and even utopianism has its place. People should dream big dreams and go for them. But this yin space, it can become tyrannical. It can become infected with megalomania, and it can begin to insist upon itself. And it has been insisting on itself. It's become be safe or else. Be good little boys and girls. Be safe, be kind, or else. Commit no violence, or else there will be violence committed to you. Speak nicely and politely to people, or we'll tear out your tongue and stop you from speaking altogether. I think we can all agree we probably already crossed that barrier. We probably already crossed that boundary a while ago. My suggestion would be that we should resist this. We should resist this, my friends, because if not now, then when? If not now, then when? We are adolescent as a culture. We are adolescent as a species. We're very new. We're very young. We're not babies anymore. We're not babies. We're not tweens. We're probably about 16 or 17 years old as a species. We're adolescent. We're still selfish. We still have terrible impulse control. We still are very, very, very narcissistic. And unfortunately, our selfishness, our narcissism, our childishness, our emotional immaturity infects everything. And that's the way it is. And that's okay. That's okay. There's nothing to rage at. There's nothing to waste your life or get depressed about or rage at there. It is the way it is. So on that score, I would say just accept it. We're adolescent as a species. But there's real danger ahead now on this path that we're on. Real danger. We need to resist it. I don't want to be the one to tell people to do this. I like making YouTube videos and then going to the gym and maybe reading about psychology and doing a course here or there on how to overcome different issues and whatever. I don't want to be telling people this, but what I'm saying is that we're just moving towards the danger. We're in this little boat, we're on a stream, and we're not moving that fast that we can't do something about it, but we have to start acting now. We've got to pull out of this safety spiral. It really is a sickness. It is narcissism. It's hypochondria. It's self-obsession. We're declaring ourselves collectivists for justice as a front. It's not real. It's not authentic, whilst acting as selfish and as narcissistic as possible. It's a cheap trick. Do as I say. Why? The collective demands it, comrade. Really? You couldn't just have the balls to carry a baseball bat? If you're going to rob and bully people and exploit them and extort them, couldn't you at least have the decency to carry a gun and wear a balaclava so we all know what you are? Don't hide. Don't hide. Just be authentic. Be out there. This again is yin. We need yin. We are yin. I just realized. I literally just realized I'm booked to go to yin yoga with my mother. Next week, I'm going to yin yoga with my own mother. There you go. We want to talk about the yin, paging Dr. Freud. I sometimes go to yin yoga with my mother. It's hard, you know. People tell you, be like, that's for women. Really? Is it? You try going to yin yoga and get back to me about oh, it's too easy. It's just for the women. Yeah. All right. You try it. Because in yin, you adopt a pose and then you stop there. It's not dynamic. You stop for like 2, 3, sometimes 4 minutes. It's really tough. It's really, really hard. Yeah. I wonder what Sigmund would make of that. I just realized now. It's in my my laptop is here and I put it in the diary. So we've got to have yin. We've got to have yang. Like for guys like myself, who like lifting weights and boxing and doing kickboxing, most of you know what happened. Like eventually my ACL snapped. It's too much yang. You've got to breathe. You've got to move gently. You've got to do yoga. You've got to dance. You've got to treat your body. You need to express yin as well. Too much yang in the body will create breakage because it's too harsh. It's too harsh for your body to hold all that yang energy. This isn't like a covert, you know, misogynistic, like I'm secretly saying I fucking hate women. I'm not saying that. That's another video that I'm going to, it's a joke. Censor him, cancel him. That's all yin, by the way. That's all reputation control, reputation management, and reputation assault. That's evidence of toxic yin. Cancel culture is toxic yin. It's an effort to control what people say. It's an effort to control thoughts. It's an effort to control feelings. Toxic yang doesn't concern itself with any of that. It controls your actions. As long as you stand up and do the proper salute to the proper portrait on the wall at the proper time and do as you are told, you'll be okay. There's not much thought crimes in when the right wing goes completely insane, as we know historically. There are some elements of trying to control people's thought crimes, but typically it's actions that are controlled over there. What I'm trying to say is, let's be careful of doing bad things with good intent. Everybody should be able to do whatever they want. Beautiful sentiment. Excellent. I love that. Libertarian, liberal, classic in the classic sense, classically liberal. And though it harm no other, do what thou wilt. As Slavoj Žižek has pointed out, sometimes when we grant people a permission, oddly enough, because humans are perverse creatures, it becomes an injunction. So if I say people should be allowed to do whatever they want, somewhere along the line that becomes people must do whatever they want. But what do you want? Because ideology doesn't just teach you what to want, but how to want it. That's Slavoj Žižek. So we have to look at this and we have to say, okay, some of the things that I thought were a good idea, like saying people can do whatever they want with no boundaries, totally unrestrained. Okay. How long have we been running that for? It seemed like a good idea. I mean, idealistically, in a utopian world, if people were intrinsically good and moral beings, they would only do good and moral things. So give them the freedom to do whatever they want without boundaries, no sanctions. Everybody just express yourself all at the same time. How's that going? How's that going? Let's make everybody as safe as possible because safety and justice is the priority. How stupid are our children now? How effing stupid are our children now? Stupid. Not because their brains don't work or they don't have the raw material to have like a high IQ. Some people don't. That's life. Not because of that, but because of pure ideological infection. They're stupid. It's a stupid generation. They say stupid things. They believe stupid things. Why? You can't say that. Can. Saying it right now with the words out my gob. They're stupid. They believe stupid things. They say stupid things. Why? Well, they've been taught throughout the entire education system that they are fragile, that they are weak, that they are the center of the universe, and that what they want to a nuance is the most important thing in the world, that their comfort comes first, that their safety comes first. These all sound like nice things. I think if I had kids, I'd probably, like, let me not be a hypocrite here. I think I probably would need, you know, somebody to just check on me and be like, you're not spoiling those kids, are you? You're not making them too safe, are you? I think I would be tempted. I would be tempted. I'd be that way. But a school is not a parent, and students are not children. They're not the children of a parent, which is the school. A school's job is to educate people who live inside of a nation. Your government is not your father. It's not your mother. And you're not the government's children. You know that, right? School is not a home. The school is not a parent. And those are not the children of the school to be protected. That's a parent's job. To be educated morally, that's a parent's job. To be motivated, that's your family's job. You go to school to learn. And as we as individuals, including family units, abrogate responsibility to the state, to the institutions, to government-run institutions like schools, so they go, okay, you're not going to discipline your kids. You're not going to work with us as an institution to help discipline your kids and set boundaries. Nope. Well, we want to put them in detention. Nope, no detention. Well, we have to impose a sanction on them. No, no sanctions. They're kids. How are we going to discipline them? Don't. Discipline. Discipline's a dirty word. How do you want us to teach them virtues like honor and truth? Virtues. What do you think this is? The 1940s? Oh, okay. So we're going to run culture, and we're going to run a society where the idea of truth, where the idea of virtues is a joke, and truth and honor and discipline are meaningless. Yeah, of course. What's that for? You loser. Go on, granddad. Okay. So no restraint, no boundaries, no morality, no virtue. Yeah, that's what we want. Give the people what they want. All right. All right. What do you want us to do? Just make us safe. Make you safe. Yeah, make us safe while we have fun. Fun. You want fun. Yeah, this culture's great. You can have fun. Okay. You're having fun. You're having experiences. You're pleasuring the body. You're pleasuring your ego. You're indulging in narcissism. It's cool. That's cool. You ever felt joy? You ever felt freedom? You dull, soulless, dead-eyed zombies who hate discipline, who hate justice, who hate honor, who hate truth, who spit on virtue. You ever felt joy? You never have. You never have, because you've never fought, you've never struggled, and you've never overcome. You just want more. You just want more of the devil's teats shoved in your gob to squirt various flavors of milk down your greedy little throats. How's that working out for you? Make us safe whilst we do whatever the hell we want. Put a boundary around us. And when we break that boundary, when we destroy the school, when we destroy the institution that's there to educate us, to protect us, to make our lives better, when we say F the school, F the police, F everything, we're still going to cry that you didn't make us safe. And who is you? Who is you? Where is this floating agency? If it's not you, ladies and gentlemen, who's in charge of your life, who do you think is in charge? If you're not making yourself safe, who do you think is making you safe? I don't know what that question means. When I try and answer it, I get all dreamy and I start thinking about scrolling Instagram and watching Netflix. If you're not making yourself safe, and you're not responsible for your health, and you're not responsible for your life and your money and your kids and your energy and your fitness and everything else and your body, who is?
So, you know, it's the government. They should do their jobs.
Okay. What's their job? What's their job? What's your job? What's the school's job?
They should motivate the children and parent them because I can't be asked.
Okay. You want a state-run institution, a huge, incompetent, money-wasting bureaucracy to handle the intricacies of a developing child's mind. Okay. And that which they don't do is handed over to who? Whoever the children are speaking to the most. Well, they're not even talking to each other. They hand their minds over to the craftsmen and craftswomen of social media. That's why I say they're stupid. So their minds are full of piss and mush and nonsense and advertising and ideology. They're stupid. Get mad at me. Get mad at me all you like. It won't make your children any less effing stupid than they are, any less lazy than they are, any less weak than they are, any less cowardly than they are. And all of that is a reflection of whose cowardice? Us. There's nobody else here. There's just us. So here is my optimism. It's not too late. You can pull out. You can pull out, but we're entering into something now. We're going into the matrix. We're going, if you like your Freudian phallic symbols, we're going, we are yang because we're things, we're humans, we have lives, we are content, we are that which is. We're going into nothingness, a space, yin. You like it phallic. That's how you get it. Thank you, Mr. Freud. Thank you, Mr. Jung. We're now moving into yin, deeper and deeper into the cave and into the darkness we go. But is this noble yin? Is this noble yin? What is noble yin? You ever had a nurse tell you to stop malingering and get out of bed? You ever had somebody set a boundary and tell you to go outside into the light? You ever had somebody in a traditional feminine caring role tell you to go and do something that is yang? Yin is darkness. Yin is the comfort of the cave. The cave is good. Yin is night. We need sleep. We need stillness. We need silence. We don't get yin. We go psychotic. But you know what else we need? We need sunlight. We need yang. Noble yin will lead you back to yang in the same way that noble yang will lead you back to yin. It won't say, just stay with me forever in the cave of safety. I will give you everything, my child. Okay, psycho mummy. Or you could put me down, you psychotic. No, we are one, we are bonded. Remember the Matrix? What happens? When you're in the pod, things are inserted into you. Everything you need is given to you before you can open your eyes and blink. All the nutrients, all the fluids, all the hormones are balanced inside the pod. What's the trade-off? You'll never know pain. You can live whatever illusion you want, my child. Give me all your power, all your energy. Look at that world outside, my child. Look. All that striving, sweating, stress, the body. You've got to talk to people. You're socially anxious, aren't you? No, I'm not socially anxious. I think you are. I think you're socially anxious, child. I think, child, you're weaker than you know. Weaker than you know. Weaker than you know. I think you have ADHD. I think you have BPD. I think that you have bibbidi boo. I think you're weak and you can't handle the outside world. You're anxious. I've seen you. You're anxious. You're anxious. It's all fucking hypnosis. Oh, I swore I wasn't going to swear. 34 minutes in, he swore. Damn it. You don't know yourself, so you let yourself be hypnotized. And all the marketing and all the political ideology is on the same lines now. You are weak. Hand over your power to us, and we will give you the world. But it will be an illusion. But don't worry, it's a great illusion. It's the metaverse. Just take the blue pill. What is I really like the actor. He went on, he was in The Sopranos. He was great in The Sopranos. Really evil character. Joe Pantoliano or Pantoliano, Italian actor, Italian-American actor. Great actor. Cypher. And he's Judas in The Matrix. And Agent Smith says to him, you know, you're going to do this for us? Are you going to betray Neo, the Messiah? And he says, yeah. He's eating a steak and he says, I know that this steak isn't real, but it tastes just as good, but it's not real. Are we going to do that? Are we going to take an illusion of a purely solipsistic, narcissistic illusion over real life because real life is a bit hard? Wow. Well, then we deserve it. We deserve to go into the pod. We deserve to be locked into toxic yin and then hermetically sealed in that coffin forever if we make that choice. The human experiment will have failed. Good. You'd be like, I thought you were going to be optimistic. That's my optimism. Because then I would say, well, that's what's meant to be, right? That's my fatalism. That's from yin. Fatalism. Just see what happens. It's like whatever is meant to be. Are we meant to be? Are we soulmates? If it's meant to be, it'll be. It's fatalism. That's yin. So I'm being yin, right? Yin is the best thing ever. Cool. Let's be yin. If that's what's meant to be, then that's what's meant to be. I'm comfortable with that. It could be. It could be. Or we can start walking backwards. Just you and yours, the people around you. You can start walking backwards. We've been walking into the cave a while. It's getting quite dark now. Yang and sunlight is very, very far behind us. But we can start walking it back. It doesn't matter what you said last year or what you believed the year before or what you posted on Facebook 4 years ago. Maybe you were all for this. Maybe you thought this was great. Maybe you got it wrong. So what? So what? I can justify it all. I can say it's all has its place. But when it's misapplied and it's overdone, what you get is this. Everybody should be able to be whatever they want to be. Everybody should just wake up tomorrow and say, I'm a plum tree. And then everyone should treat them as a plum tree. Fantastic. Fantastic. Yeah. Is it dangerous? Not in the face of it. But we're not in kindergarten. We're not. Life isn't one long big role play. We have responsibilities here on this planet, I'm afraid. You can deny them if you want, but then you'll come to a psychologist or a counselor and be like, you know, for some reason I feel really empty and depressed and anxious and I don't know why. Well, you haven't faced up to your responsibilities as a human being, my precious. And don't shame yourself for it. I won't shame you for it. If nobody taught you how could you know? You might not know how to change the wheel on a car. You might not know how to change the fuse in a socket. It's a little bit shameful, but like if nobody taught you, like you can't punish you for that. If you were shown and you were given the opportunity and you still choose not to do it, okay, that's a different scenario. We should start walking backwards from this. We should get back into the light. We should be like, you know what? We might need some harder edges. We might need some harder boundaries. Maybe hierarchy isn't the worst thing in the world. Maybe people's expertise. Maybe we could go back to just looking at that and maybe go, maybe there's a reason why they're an expert on the subject. Not that anybody should go unchallenged. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying we want to go all the way back over into toxic yang. We've already run that experiment. But I think this way of swinging far into yin, we've run this experiment. It's not going well. Nobody wants to live in a medical tyranny. You want to have some say over your body, right? You're not just going to let them plug whatever they want into you in the matrix, right? It's not a question of whether it's the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do or anything like that. It's not. I have to be so careful with YouTube now. It's not medical. It's philosophical. Should you have a say? Do you have civil rights? Should you be forced? My God, do we have to ask that question? Haven't we come a long way in 2 years? Do you remember how, how naive and sweet 2019 was? Now we're like, should you have the rights over what happens to your physical body, or should that be given away? A second, slow down. We're moving a little fast here. We can walk out of this, but we have to give up on certain things. So this is where I'll start to wrap it up, and then I'll take questions. And this is my optimism. We think as human beings, another little software fault, that if a problem is complicated and big, then the solution must be complex, and that we need to take big action. You know, the Nazis are coming. Okay, call up the home guard. Let's start making weapons as fast as we can. Let's start rationing the food and rationing the resources so that we can get as many active soldiers to the front lines to resist the Germans, so we're not invaded as quickly as we can. Let's call up the Americans and beg on our knees for some boats and some planes and things, and maybe a bit of help at some point. Yeah, good. This isn't that. This situation is not like that. There's no big action to be taken here. I really don't believe. I think that's the big lie and the big temptation. Some big action will stop this. I'm going to share something with you that I've not shared before because I have friends who work in this community and I don't want to hurt their feelings or piss them off. The people who are for big resistance and big action, I personally believe that this is I can't remember the proper psychoanalytic term for it, but it's one of the psychoanalytic defense mechanisms. Zizek would be able to explain this. It's, I do this symbolic gesture over here so that I can keep my toys, my addictions, my perversions, whatever you want, over here. You pay the toll. You pay the toll with your resistance, your riots, your protests, but you won't do the real thing that you know in your heart of hearts needs to be done. We must unplug. They're trying to plug you. They. Who is they? The same people like, who is they? Who just abandon agency in their own lives. Just offer up their children to Moloch. Yes, feast on my child's brains. But who is they? Unplug. Walk backwards. Walk backwards. Don't follow the herd. Quietly. Move back towards the light, back towards individualism, back towards responsibility, back towards being strong. Believe in your own strength. I am so sorry if through doing these videos, I've dipped any of you in this poisonous culture of victimhood and psychologizing everything, whilst I personally, outside of my work, enjoy a pretty high level of resilience and a philosophy based on building personal strength and skills and taking responsibility. I don't talk about it much because it's not what the channel is. I mean, I have a philosophy channel for that stuff, but I'm sorry if I led you to believe any of this garbage. I'm sorry if I've had any impact that has furthered the pathologizing and the psychologizing, the medicalizing of culture itself. People are using psychology and psychiatric terms now regularly where they do not belong and they should not go, through the popularization. Me and other people, we've popularized that. You're not weak. You never were. You're the products of millions of years of evolution, and as human beings, it has been very, 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 very tough, and we've gone through far, far harsher threats than this and come through. But this is a unique challenge for humanity. Really, we live in a very special time in history. How wonderful for us narcissistically. This is a very special time, a very special challenge. And as far as we know, we've never faced this before. And it is that we are gazing into our own reflection and we are gazing into the abyss. And it is social media and technology that's allowing us to do this. We are now falling prey to broad-scale ideological infection. And we're not winning the fight, I regret to tell you. We are not winning the fight. The infection is winning. But there is no fight. We can't run forward and fight it. Randomly on the TV the other day, Lord of the Rings came on. Well, no, I turned the TV on, and it was Lord of the Rings. It was halfway through the movie, and I think it's called The Battle of Helm's Deep. And the Uruk-hai are like super soldier orcs attack our brave group of travelers on their quest, and they have to defend a keep whilst these special forces orcs attack them en masse. And I was like, oh, it's the way an infection moves. They're being infected, and they try to break the boundaries of the keep, and then they would flow in. I was like, oh, this is interesting. This is an ideological infection attacking a space. And there is a line that they say before the battle. He says, this will be the end of the world of men, because the orcs want to take over. They work on behalf of Sauron, the big dark eye in the big red eye in the sky, and they want to take over the world and in the darkness bind them, plunge the world into a hellscape, and just lock it there forevermore. And every living entity will just live in suffering and pain forevermore. A literal hell on earth is what they're trying to do. And I thought, Tolkien was a linguist, and the Uruk-hai are clearly representative of. He was a smart dude. He was a philosopher, and he understood what he was saying. And I was like, Uruk-hai is very specific. I wonder what it means. So I looked it up, and now I can't remember what it means. I think it means, hang on, there's great violence occurring in here. I think it means, I nearly pulled my back doing that. Please hold, I am having technical difficulties. It means let there be light. No, it doesn't. I think it means, oh, I remembered. It's a Hindi. It means there is a chance. There is a chance. So I looked it up and I was like, I knew that Tolkien would have put something in there. That naughty little cryptographer. There is a chance. You have the line from Gandalf to Frodo about hope before a battle as well, where things seem like everything is lost and you're about to be plunged into darkness. There is still a chance. There is still cause for optimism. It's not done yet. The goose is not yet cooked. My friends, there is an effort to convince you that you have no agency and that history is over. History is not over. It is being written, and you are part of it. You have far more power than you know, but there is no Uruk-hai out there to go and smash him with a hammer or a battle axe. This won't be that type of fight. It's an unplugging. It's a walking away. It's a lack of consent. If we cease to consent en masse, this will be over. This will be over. But the cessation of consent will mean the losing of toys. The internet, social media, the Instagrams, the Netflix, the Uber Eats, and all that stuff. We might lose that. But we would gain a lot if we lost that. We would gain a tremendous amount if we lost that. And it might be worth it. The solution is not complex. There's no action really to be taken. There's a conscious inaction to be taken. Unplug, walk away, go back to your real life. You might be more ideologically infected than you realize. Just go back to normal life. Just go back to people, human beings. I know it's tough because a lot of people have very, very little attention left to offer you, and the attention they offer you, they're coming from such a low level of consciousness, it's not exactly high quality attention they can give. But even that is better than the online world. Even that is better than the absolute garbage that mainstream media is pumping out at the moment. Unplug, walk away from it, go back to nature, go back to a more natural life, and back to trusting yourself and believing in your own strength and your own resilience. And as much time as you spend avoiding illness, which would be yin, it's protection, safetyism, good. As much time as you do that, you should be strengthening yourself. You should be strengthening your body. You should be doing everything you can to make sure that your immune system and your body is healthy and works well. Why would you, like, if you had an enemy that was coming, would you only strengthen the walls, or would you train your warriors and sharpen their weaponry? Like, you've got to have strength as well. You've got to do both. It's the intelligent option. That is over. That went on longer than I expected, but then it typically does. If there's any questions, you can write them now, make it one sentence long and have it end in a question mark. make it make sense, and I'll do my best. Does that mean I can't watch you anymore? You can do whatever you want, my friend. Just come in from an hour walk in the Tahoe woods. So happy I am. That's a big flex, man. I don't know where the Tahoe woods are. Maybe they're in Tahoe. I'm sure they're lovely. I'm saying nothing. I'm just putting that on the screen. Any questions, guys? If you make it one sentence long for me, somewhat relevant to what we've been talking about, and ending in a question mark, that'd be fantastic. Do you think toxic yin goes along with toxic yang in our society? The way healthy yin and yang do? Yeah. Yeah. I'm afraid so. The toxicity or the abusiveness or the poisonousness that we embody in ourselves will be reflected in other people. If we are shadow activated or shadow possessed, we're more likely to activate other people's shadow. So yeah, it's natural that would happen, for sure. Any questions, guys? Mookbong Anonymous says, is this you saying goodbye to us, Richie? Don't go into abandonment anxiety. I'll always be around in some form. Or to some degree, to some form. That sounds like I'm going to die. Touch wood. Touch wood, I don't die. Not ready yet. Still want to see how this thing plays out. It's too much. I'm halfway through the movie. I don't end now. No, I'll be here, but maybe a little bit less. Whew. Everybody in the chat's laughing. Let's everybody just take a minute to imagine Richard enjoying a healthy, long, happy life, dancing, smiling, and laughing. There we go. That's better. Whew. I freaked myself out a bit then. Okay. Why are some of us able to resist being treated like non-humans, but many can't or won't? Good question. In this period that we're going through right now, I was always, in terms of like the study of psychology from university to now, was pretty. Don't drift off and take this the wrong way. You can have a left-wing perspective of psychology. I was in a very, what would be considered classically right-wing university. So my little rebellion was to be like a radical leftist, postmodernist, social constructionist. And that was my take on everything, because people kept on saying to me, this is the way it is. And I'm like, well, you don't really know that. And these are the tools that let us deconstruct your expression that this is the way it is. This is the way it is. This is a commandment. This is all there is. That it's fixed. Conclusion, done. Yang, you could say. Not very noble yang. And I'd be like, well, I'm not sure about that. I want to question it. I want to actually start pushing that, deconstructing it, and looking at it. That is order. So you bring some chaos to the order, and you start to look at the component parts, and you go, this doesn't even make, it's a good way of doing things. But so in that tradition, you would usually believe that every human being born is born a blank slate, and that what makes people is culture, and that there's very little of your personality that is essential to your biology or your genetics. That has changed dramatically for me in the last 2 years. Simply looking at people's visceral responses where they haven't had a chance to be trained by propaganda or culture or advertising or marketing or governmental messaging or anything. They just responded like that straight away, and they didn't change, or very few of them have changed over time. And I thought, this indicates to me, or this gives me, sorry, let me say it carefully, non-scientifically, as an observer of humans who's just expressing ideas philosophically, let me say that first, it gives rise to a suspicion in me that there is a genetic tendency towards submission to authority. And there's a genetic tendency towards challenging authority. There's a genetic tendency towards insisting on a collective response in the face of threat and terror. And there's a genetic component to the tendency to believe that there are still individualistic responses that have merit and are useful in response to threat or terror. I hope what I just said made sense and didn't sound like word salad. I now believe there more in biological essentialism. So why would some people, you asked, why are some of us able to resist being treated like non-humans, but many can't, won't? I sort of reinterpret that as the resistance to authority question or the adherence to authority question. I think it's genetic. I think there's a biological predisposition, simply because of it was visceral, it was fervent, and it was immediate. When I say immediate, it took about maybe a month for people to kind of go, is this a joke? Are we doing this? What the fuck is it? And then people started to concretize into different positions on the subject. And it's so concrete now that people get confused about my position on the subject. They're like, oh, you're in that camp. And I'm like, no. Oh, well, that means you must be in that camp. That's epistemological dichotomania. I'm not interested in either of your camps. I have questions. They're individual questions. I'm not a big fan of collectivism. I think people are at their dumbest when they're in groups. So I don't want to join your camp. You don't want, but people think, yeah, we want you to join our camp. And I'm like, you don't. You think you do, but you don't want me with you. Trust me. You want me out here. That's where you want me. So I think it's biological. I do think it's biological. And I think that we should try to be kind. It's really tough, but things are getting very nasty. They're getting very vociferous now, virulent. People are getting really nasty with it. Try to keep perspective. Try to stay, perhaps kind isn't the right word, maybe like in the old sense of compassion from Buddhism, where you distance yourself and you look with clarity, not at an enemy, but you see a system of ideas rolling and functioning together like clockwork. It's an ideological clockwork. Now, if I believe this to be true, then this is true. Then if that is true, then this must be true. Then therefore X equals Y, and you must do Z. It's essential. And you're like, wow, you took a lot of leaps to get to that conclusion, didn't you? But at least then you can have the perspective to respect where that person is coming from, because that's still a person. That's still a human being. Your worst enemies in this camp or that camp or whatever, they were all kids once. They were all tiny little children strutting and waddling around and yelling at the sky and shitting themselves and crying. And just, try to remember, like, people are vulnerable, even if they're being arseholes, even if they're ideologically possessed and they're being aggressive and everything else. Everything in you, I said this before, the toxicity in them, when they're shadow activated, when their unconscious is up and they're in that state, you'll feel yours come up too. You want to meet them there. You want to meet toxicity with toxicity, abuse with abuse, shadow with shadow. It's not a good outcome. It really isn't a good outcome for anybody. It's bad karma. It's really bad karma, not in some vague woo way, but in the true Buddhist sense, which was one of the, I believe, is the original science was Buddhism. Karma means action. And the concept of karma implies action and the effect of actions. That's all karma is in Sanskrit. It's action or deed or work. But the idea is whatever you do, it's, what did Jesus say? Did he say, as you reap, so shall you sow? Is that a Jesus thing? It's somewhere in the Bible. I don't know if Jesus said it. One of the wise people in the Bible said it. You do something over here or now, it has an effect over there. That's it. It's bad karma to meet shadow with shadow. You'll create really horrible effects like that. And there's a lot of that going on. We don't need any more of it. We really don't. I'm not saying, oh, forgive your enemy and turn the other cheek and just do as you're told. No, there'll be moments to rebel. And those moments will require action. But trust me, there'll be few. They will be perishingly few. Very, very few. This is more of an ideological war than a physical war. Certainly at this point. Thank God. Ella Basque says, Jesus. Bless you. The real people died in the wars fighting for freedom, says Mitonitron. Brittany Lane has a question. On that note, advice for helping children break narcissistic habits in this world. If they're your children, then you need to be a good role model. You need to be a compelling role model, and you must be free from hypocrisy, because children are hypersensitive to justice and fairness. And if you're a hypocrite and you force them to do something without modeling it for them first, you can force them, but you'll twist them in the forcing. You'll twist them and you'll build tremendous resentment in the forcing. They'll still love you, they'll still obey you because they are your children. But again, it's bad karma. Don't ask your children to not be narcissistic unless you've really cleaned up your own narcissism. Don't ask your children not to waste time on social media preening and poncing around if you're on social media preening and poncing around. Don't ask them not to waste their time on social media if you yourself are posting pictures of your children on social media. It would be a mixed message. You must embody it first. Being a charismatic, strong role model for children is a challenge, but it's also the easiest way of getting the job done. It's kind of lazy. This is why I like doing it. It's just the easiest thing. And being able to draw attention to what's happening with them, because it needs to be of their volition. These devices and these platforms are too much for young minds. I'm Gen X, I'm 43. They get to me. And I see the way other people use social media, like my peers. They put so much of themselves out there. I don't. I use it for this project, for this brand, for this business. I don't use it for anything else. I don't see the need, but I see other people doing it. And even with my relative indifference and coldness towards it, I'm still impacted by it. Why? Because billions and billions of dollars have been paid to psychologists, to experts in creating gambling websites, experts in creating porn websites, and that sort of Dr. Evil style expertise has been funneled directly into one job: porn, gambling, psychology, marketing, political pundits. All their Machiavellian evil skill set has been channeled into one job: keeping your eyeballs on the page for longer. That's it. They don't care what it costs you. They don't care what it costs your children. They don't care what it costs in terms of an increase in suicide amongst teenagers, body dysmorphia, more eating disorders, more anxiety, more depression, the genders hating each other, left-wing, right-wing politics becoming this absurd circus of hatred and mockery, and like it is polarizing by design. It is anger inducing by design. It's not conspiracy theory, it's published fact. They've openly admitted that that's what they did. That's their business model. Why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they feed you things that outrage you, that you're more likely to repost, that you're more likely to argue with people in the comments for? Of course, of course, of course. Respect these platforms. Fear them for your children's sake, not for your sake. But you should fear them the way you would fear your children handling drugs. Really. Oh, it's an overstatement. It's not that bad. All right. Get back to me. Get back to me in a year, 2 years, 3 years. We won't know what the long-term consequences are until the data comes in. And it'll be coming in 10, 20, 30 years into the future. We're creating a generation that will not be able to deal with normal, real life. I promise you now. We are creating a disaster, a future disaster. This is a time bomb. This is a time bomb. Have you seen the film Idiocracy? Our future will not be Brave New World. We don't need to fear 1984. Our future will look like the film Idiocracy. The people who take over the wheels, the levers of power in the future will not have an effing clue what to do with them, because they'll be idiots. And they'll be weak. They'll all be attention deficit. They won't be able to concentrate. They won't be able to do mathematics. They won't be able to spell properly. They won't be able to read properly. This is already happening. You say, oh, that's a silly caricature. You sound like an old man who's criticizing the youth. It's a caricature, is it? Or are you ignorant of the data? I'm sure one of those scenarios is the true one. Why are you so provocative? I don't know. I'm at that point where I can't be serious anymore. Listen, everything's going to be okay. What's the name of the movie again? Idiocracy, like idiot and theocracy or autocracy, rulership. So the archons are the rulers. So like a monarch, that's the etymological root. Cracy is rule, like democracy. Demos is people, cracy is rule. So that's whoever's in charge. So if the idiots are in charge, it's called an idiocracy. It's a good film. If all the good ones leave, isn't that sort of forfeiting? Is it forfeiting? I wonder what choices we have. President-elect Pressure 609 says, I can't wait to eat turkey. Is it that time of year? Paolo. Idiodemocracy. Idiocracy. French Soul says, thank you, Richard. Got it. Thank you. Paulo Adrião do Portugal says, please smash the like button before it's too late, before I'm cancelled. Muito obrigado. I have a seminar in London tonight. No, 7 days tonight. Thursday, the 18th, there's a seminar in London. To find out about all my seminars and to get my secret videos that I can no longer post on YouTube, but I will be putting on BitChute and reproducing them on this channel, go to Telegram. It's in the more information bar below. I'm sorry to ask you to get another app, but I can't put the content that I want to put on this YouTube channel anymore. So if you want to get the content that I cannot put here, you are going to have to follow me on that app. I apologize for this dishonor, but it's necessary. This channel cannot take another strike. If I get another strike, the channel will be deleted, and that would be foolish. That would be unnecessary. So if you're interested in joining me in London, the Liverpool seminar sold out. The London seminar, we have half the tickets left now. So if you are interested, join the Telegram group and the more information bar below. And if you are in Serbia, Croatia, Bosnia or Slovenia, please know that I am coming to Belgrade. I'll be doing seminars in Belgrade on the 23rd, the 24th and the 27th of this month. Don't tell me to come to Slovenia. Don't tell me to come to Croatia. Don't tell me to come to Bosnia. You come to Belgrade. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to stop now because the mood in me, the mania is coming. I can feel it. I'm going to say something really stupid and get cancelled. So I'm going to stop now. If you want to continue the conversation, I can. I've got time. I could do a live. I could go live on Instagram when I can get the silly out of me. Right. Thank you very much. I am optimistic. You should be optimistic. These things come and go like cycles. And I really think we have a lot to be optimistic about. I sense a sea change in people. I sense a sea change in this culture, and people are waking up. So be optimistic, but don't be complacent. Take action. Do what you need to do. Take care of your health. Get back outside. Get back into nature. Take care of your lungs. Do some deep breathing exercises. Do a little bit of cardio. Get your 10,000 steps every day. It is well worth it. If you need to lose weight, lose a bit of weight. Get on a meal plan. Go to the gym. Check your macros. Get one of those little apps that checks your calories every day. That's what I do. All right, kids. I'm going to leave it there. Thank you for your time. for your attention, the two most precious resources you have, and you've offered them here to me tonight, and I'm grateful for that, and I look forward to speaking to you again soon. Cheers.